Yeah, imagine Louis accidentally getting cut himself on the nail, gets infected in the game over screen. Luckily, this game wouldn't do that. What my guess is, that it's possible for Louis to lose a hand, and if he loses a hand, he permanently will get like a penalty for like some skill or something. Leave. Well, let's talk about themes. Let's look at the resurrection,
Chapter
because that's part of
24,
his death.
Verse 3. Jesus rose from the dead on the 14th of Nisan, 3793, in Nazareth. He appeared with a halo above his head.
Yeah, Nazareth.
Chapter 24, verse 3. But when they entered, they did not find the body of the Lord Jesus. While they were wondering about this, suddenly 2 men in clothes that gleamed like lightning stood beside them. In their fright, the women bowed down with their faces to the ground. But the men said to them, "Why do you look for the living among the dead?
This is a long verse.
He is not here. He has risen. Remember how he told you while he was still with you in Galilee."
Galilee? Okay. Correspondence. Nissan 8. On the back of the message is written. Correspondence of date. Okay. There was a lock with a guillotine in the study, right? Well, people would know you tried to open this thing. Yeah. Go back.
The cycle of the moons has nothing to do with what I'm doing right now.
Guess a theme, then insert nails in the door. Analyze the whole door.
It looks like there are 3 types of inscriptions.
Nazareth. Notice the details. Analyze the fresco.
It looks like there are 3
So
types
we
of
have
inscriptions.
Nazareth, Bethlehem, Bethesda, Abu Ghosh, Jordan, Jerusalem, Golgotha. Find out how it works. That one's going to be 3. Analyze the fresco. Notice the details.
You could see that the paint has come off in parts. Difficult to see what was there, but I can distinguish the letters N-R-I. Nothing more.
That was from the crucifixion. Yeah. Understand the acronym. That was when he was crucified, not when he was resurrected. Understand the acronym NRI. Understand the acronym. Yeah, that was when he was crucified. Analyze the fresco.
Yes, it's definitely a representation of the birth of Christ, but some of the details have flaked away. I can't see any other clues. One thing is for sure, this enigma deals with the life of Jesus, like my mother said.
Yeah, it's clear that it's the crucifixion. Analyze the whole door.
It looks like there are 3 types of inscriptions.
Alright, Carmelite water it is.
There are 3 styles of writing, and I've got 3 nails. There must be a link. I must surely put in 1 nail per category.
Everyone read this. Recognize the towns. I need to get more. There we go.
Clearly, we have names of towns, Arabian numerals, and Roman numerals. These towns have one thing in common. They're all related to the life
it's the
and death of Jesus.
crucifixion.
For example,
NRI has nothing
Jordan
to do
is
with
place of the baptism of Christ.
resurrection, so insert nails. Oh my goodness, seriously? So it was saying Golgotha. So we have Golgotha, Jerusalem, Jordan, Abu Ghosh, Bethesda, Bethlehem, Nazareth. Golgotha is where? Yeah, Golgotha. And then 19. Let me go back. Leave. Let me go back. Read this again. Themes. Crucifixion.
Chapter 19,
verse 17.
Jesus was crucified on the 8th of Nisan, 3793, in a place near Jerusalem. The Romans put a crown of thorns on his head. Chapter 19, verse 17. And he, bearing his cross, went forth into a place called the place of a skull,
Right.
which is called in the Hebrew Golgotha, where they crucified him, and 2 others with him, on either side, and Jesus in the midst.
All right. I mean, the thing is, where does these correspondence of dates belong? Do the correspondence of dates have anything to do with where we're putting the nails? Is it really as simple as putting chapter 19 verse 17? Is it really that simple? Because then we have these correspondence of dates: October 17th, 84, Ramadan, Shaban, Nisan, 8 Nisan, 7 Shaban, negative 607 equals 8 Nisan, 8 April 29 equals 6 Rajab, negative 61. Yeah, it's like correspondence of dates. Because Nisan has been referred to, but I don't know if that has anything to do with this.
The cycle of the moons has nothing to do with what I'm doing right now.
Yeah, so I guess we don't care about it at this moment. Alright, well, it says guess a theme, so I'm gonna guess a theme. Insert nails. Golgotha. Chapter 19. Verse 17. Yeah, because we have chapter 2, chapter 24, 19, 5, 1, 14. Yeah. And then verse 17. It looks like it opened all the way. Okay. Alright, so far... Oh.
It works.
Well done, Louis. I hadn't seen those other wheels. Try connecting the theme to see if it goes all the way.
Put in your hand? Oh my goodness, put in your hand. Put in your hand. I don't think I'm ready to put in my hand here. Insert the nails, analyze the fresco, analyze the whole door, put in your hand, analyze the inside wheels.
There must surely be a connection between the wheels.
See, this is where, okay, so this is where the suns and moons. Analyze the wheel of the icons, analyze the wheel of the dates, the wheels of the moons, look at the mechanism. Look at the mechanism.
Look at this. There are notches between each of the wheels. So, I have to link the name of the town from the theme I've chosen to an icon, then to a date, and finally, the date to the moon.
To an icon. I have to link the name of the town from the theme I've chosen an icon. I have to link the name of the town from the theme I've chosen to an icon, then to a date, and finally to the date to the moon. Alright, analyze the wheel of the icons.
There are different icons on this wheel, but it looks like some of them can't be connected to the other wheels.
Recognize the icons. We're making good use of our Carmelite water.
I think I can make out each one of the icons apart from the one covered in blood.
Going clockwise from the one I just mentioned, we have the halo that represents the resurrection. The waves represent the baptism of Jesus. It's more difficult to identify the next one. Maybe a crib, and in that case it's surely linked to the birth of Christ. the red herring that my mother followed. Then, the symbol
Crown of
represents the crown of
thorns.
thorns
Which is the
that
crucifixion.
Jesus wore during his crucifixion.
Right.
The dove also represents the baptism.
Certainly another red herring.
Another red herring. Then comes the symbol of the Trinity. And finally, the candle that must stand for the Last Supper.
All right. Yeah. I think it's okay. So clearly we're still going with the crucifixion. So the icon, definitely the crown of thorns, definitely keeping up with the crucifixion, because I mean that's how we got to this point. So it must be right. Imagine there being a move option of forcing your mom to risk her hand. I wouldn't do that. Like I said, if only you could make a makeshift hand to trick the device. Yeah, I was thinking of sticking something else in there.
Mother, what do you think?
As I told you, I didn't get that far. Nevertheless, these icons do represent moments in the life of Christ.
Yeah. Yeah. Look at the mechanism. Analyze the wheel of the moons. Analyze the wheel of dates.
This wheel contains several symbols made up of 1 or 2 figures and 1 letter. The highest figure does not exceed 31, and each letter corresponds to a month of the year. A for April,
M
and
for March.
I think these symbols must represent a specific date.
Analyze the wheel of the moons.
This wheel represents the different moons. In the occult sciences, we represent the full moon by an X. As for the dark moon, called the new moon, in cults, it's often associated with something harmful.
Yeah. We're gonna, yeah, I mean, if we're gonna risk, like, a hand, I have to be using these things. Analyze the moon.
The totally black moon corresponds to the new moon. So,
Yeah.
going clockwise,
Right, we have
the waning crescent, the last quarter, the waning gibbous, the full moon, the waxing gibbous, the first quarter, and lastly, the waxing crescent.
Right.
The totally black moon corresponds to
To
the
the new moon.
So,
Right.
going clockwise, we have the waning crescent, the last quarter, the waning gibbous, the full moon, the waxing gibbous, the first quarter, and lastly,
The
waxing
waxing
crescent.
crescent. Go back to the main menu. Analyze inside the wheels.
It looks like there are 3 types of inscriptions.
We already, yeah. Okay. Whew. Now we're going into, well, let me read the Bible again about the crucifixion. Themes, crucifixion.
Chapter 19,
verse 17.
17. Jesus was crucified on the 8th of Nisan,
8th of Nisan.
3793, in a place near Jerusalem. The Romans put a crown of thorns on his head.
He was crucified on the 8th of Nisan, 3793, in a place near Jerusalem. The Romans put a crown of thorns in his head. Yeah. On the 8th of Nisan, 3793, in a place near Jerusalem, the Romans put a crown in his head, which is Golgotha.
Chapter 19, verse 17. And he, bearing his cross, went forth into a place called the place of a skull, which is called in the Hebrew Golgotha, where they crucified him, and 2 others with him, on either side, and Jesus in the midst.
Towns: Abu Ghosh, Bethesda, Bethlehem, Jordan, Nukes towns, Jerusalem, Lanuvium, 9, Nazareth, previous town. Jerusalem. On St. Mark, chapter 14, verse 22.
Chapter 14, verse 22. On the 7th of Nisan, 3793, Jesus shared his Last Supper.
Yeah, but
in
we're
the
not
synagogue
talking about
in
the Last
Jerusalem.
Supper.
Chapter 14, verse 22. And as they did eat, Jesus took bread and blessed and broke it and gave to them and said,
Take this, all
"Take,
of you.
eat.
Eat. This is my body."
This is my body. And he took the cup, And when he'd given thanks, he gave it to them, and they all drank of it. Chapter 5,
And then this is
verse 2.
yeah.
Jesus cures the sick and
Yeah, this is one of the
lame,
miracles.
8th of
It's
a
not
dar,
what we're talking about.
3791 in Jerusalem, at the pool of Bethesda. All stand and fling away their canes.
Yeah, I don't think that this has
Chapter
anything to do
5,
with what we're trying to. I think this is a
verse
red
2.
herring.
Now, there is at Jerusalem, by the sheep market, a pool, which is called, in the Hebrew tongue, Bethesda, having 5 porches. In these lay a great multitude of impotent folk, of the blind, halting, and withered, waiting for the moving of the water. Jesus saith unto him, Rise, take up thy bed, and walk. And immediately the man was made whole, and took up his bed, and walked. And on the same day was the Sabbath.
Yeah. All right, now I'm gonna go here because I'm looking at 8th of Nisan 37093. So 8th of Nisan is 7 Shaban negative 607. March 26, 33 equals 7 of Shaban negative 607 equals 8 of Nisan. And then April 1st, the 33rd is equal to 13th Shaban negative 607 is equal to the 14th of Nisan 3793. 14th of Nisan. So March, April. So 7. Yeah, the 6th of. Okay, so if I'm understanding this, the 14th of Nisan and the 8th of Nisan. 8th of Nisan equals March 26th, 1933, which is Shaban the 7th, minus 607. And then the year 3793 is equal to April year 33 and Shaban negative 607. I think that's what that's saying. Why does Nisan not have a year next to it? The first Nisan doesn't have a year next to it. That's really weird. And then you have 8 Nisan 3. All right. Well, let's look at the moon thing. Study the sphere.
During new moon, the moon is entirely in the shadow. Then, the shadow moves from west to east, meaning left to right, and goes through the following states: waxing crescents, first quarter, waxing gibbous, full moon, waning gibbous, last quarter, waning crescent, and the cycle starts over with a full shadowed new moon.
The moon shadow moves from west to east.
Mm-hmm. Eighth of Ramadan, 7th of Shaban, 13th of Shaban, 19th of Juma al-Awal, 5th of Juma al-Tandi, 6th of Ival, 30th of Ramadan. I want to see 13th Shaban, negative 607, if I can. Eighth of Ramadan, 13th of Shaban. Yeah, 13th of Shaban, negative 607.
13th of Shaban, 607.
Waxing
Waxing
gibbous. The 13th of Shaban, waxing gibbous. So that means the 13th of Shaban was the 14th of Nisan. Right. And that was waxing gibbous.
13th of Shaban, 607. Waxing gibbous.
So that means that if you look at this, what is the 7th of Shaban? Is there a 7th of Shaban next 607?
7th of Shaban, 607. First quarter.
7th of Shaban, 607, first quarter. But I think we only care about this one, 13th of Shaban, 607, because we're looking at 3793, 14th.
13th of Shaban, 607. Waxing gibbous.
So if it's waxing gibbous was on the 13th, then you have to go backwards 6. You have to go backwards 6 moons, 6 phases, to find out what it was on the 8th, because Christ was crucified on the 8th. No, wait, 13th of Shaban.
13th of Shaban.
5
607.
days.
Waxing gibbous.
Because, yeah, 5 days, because it's 8th. The 13th of Shaban is the 14th of, oh, sorry. The 13th of Shaban is the 14th of Nisan, and Christ was crucified on the 8th of Nisan. So that means you have to go back 6 moons. So I think that's what that means. So he was the waxing gibbous. Look at analyze the inside wheels. So analyze the wheel of the moons. So the waxing
The total
gibbous.
black moon corresponds to the new moon. So, going clockwise, we have the waning,
Crescent.
the last quarter, the waning gibbous, the full moon, the waxing gibbous, the first quarter, and lastly, the waxing crescent.
Right.
The totally black moon corresponds to the new moon. So, going clockwise, we have the waning crescent, the last quarter, the waning gibbous, the full moon, the waxing gibbous, the first quarter, and lastly, the waxing crescent.
But it goes from west to east. Symbols.
In the occult sciences, we represent the full moon by an X. As for the dark moon, called the new moon, in cults, it's often associated with something harmful.
Analyze the moons.
The totally black moon corresponds to the new moon. So, going clockwise, we have the waning crescent, the last quarter, the waning gibbous, the full moon, the waxing gibbous, the first quarter, and lastly, the waxing crescent.
Lastly, the waxing crescent. Is that the order? Okay, hold on. Let me just double check to see if the order is going correctly the way I think it's going. Focus on the moon. Focus on the
The
moon.
moon shadow moves from west
East to east.
During new moon, the moon is entirely in the shadow. Then, the shadow moves from west to east, meaning left to right, and goes through the following states: waxing crescents, first quarter, waxing gibbous, full moon,
Waning gibbous. Last quarter. Waning crescent.
and the cycle starts over with the full shadowed new moon.
So it goes
During
waxing
new moon,
crescent.
The moon is entirely in the shadow.
Alright, I just want to make sure I get this
Then,
right.
The shadow moves from west to east,
So it goes
meaning
waxing
left to right, and goes through the following states:
in this
waxing crescents,
first quarter.
waxing gibbous,
Gibbous.
full moon,
Waning gibbous.
last quarter, waning crescent,
Waning crescent.
and the cycle starts over with the full shadowed new moon.
So in the wheels, look at the mechanism. Analyze the wheels of the moon. So
The totally black moon corresponds
So going
to the new moon.
clockwise.
So, going clockwise, we have the waning crescent, the last quarter, the waning gibbous, the full moon, the waxing gibbous, the first quarter, and lastly, the waxing crescent.
That's so I think it's going in the opposite direction, right?
The totally black moon corresponds to the new moon. So, going clockwise, we have the waning crescent, the last quarter, the waning gibbous, the full moon, the waxing gibbous, the first quarter, and lastly, the waxing crescent.
The waxing crescent. There's so much data being thrown at me at once. So,
During new moon, the moon is entirely in the shadow. Then, the shadow moves from west to east, meaning left to right, and goes through the following states: waxing crescents, first quarter, waxing gibbous, full moon, waning gibbous, last quarter, waning crescent, and the cycle starts over with the full shadowed new moon. During new moon,
I'm just writing this all down.
the moon is entirely in the shadow. Then, the shadow moves from west to east, meaning left to right, and goes through the following states: waxing crescents, first quarter, waxing gibbous, full moon, waning gibbous, last quarter, waning crescent, and the cycle starts over with the full shadowed new moon.
so leave. Let me just double check that it's going in the direction that I think you're supposed to be going to. Analyze the door. So that means that if in the waxing gibbous happened on the 13th of Shaban, negative 607.
13th of Shaban
was a waxing
607.
Waxing gibbous. So that means that 6 days before the waxing gibbous was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the waning crescent. That's what I needed to find out. Because if it's going in that, if it was on the 14th, it was a waxing gibbous. 6 days before that, which is the 8th of Nisan, would be waxing would be, yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, sorry, I started the wrong one. The waning crescent, first quarter, the waxing gibbous, the full moon, the waning gibbous, last quarter, the waning crescent. Yeah, the waxing crescent. Okay, so it was waxing gibbous. Sorry, waxing gibbous. I may almost had that wrong. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The waning gibbous. Waning gibbous is what we want. Right. So it's going 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Waning gibbous is what we want, according to what I was looking at. Waning gibbous. Oh, this is puzzle, man. All right, I think I got the answer. So if I go back and look at the chart one more time, I apologize. Thank you for your patience, guys, as I'm trying to figuring this out and for letting me figure it out. But moon doesn't change one state per day, right? I thought it does. I thought it's every night the moon changes. Moon doesn't change one state per day. I think it does. I'm almost positive it does. Let's see.
The totally black moon corresponds
So which one's the
to
waning
new
gibbous?
moon. So, going clockwise, we have the waning crescent, the last quarter, the waning gibbous, the full moon, the waxing gibbous, the first quarter, and lastly, the waxing crescent.
The waning gibbous is the one on the bottom right.